Fu Xi's lover was dying. When I heard the news, I was lying on the operating table. Fu Xi threw down the scalpel and told his colleague that he would trouble you with my wife's surgery. After that, he turned and left. Looking at Fu Xi's back, I couldn't hold back my tears. The next second, the cold scalpel instantly touched my skin. His colleague said lightly, "Why are you crying? I'm here, you won't die." He threw down the scalpel without saying a word and dragged the gloves into the trash can. "I can't do this operation. Let Luan come." This was the 20th minute after Bai Qing's accident. My calm and composed husband finally revealed his flaws. He urgently stopped my operation and began to remove his equipment with his back to everyone, pretending to be calm. However, his slightly trembling hand still exposed him. Bai Qing was in trouble. He was almost crazy with worry and wished he could fly to his side the next second. "Professor Pei, your wife's heart rate is very fast. He is very nervous. Are you sure you want to leave at this time?" My heart was aching. I told the nurse calmly that it was okay. Anyone could do the operation. Everyone in the operating room looked at me with sympathy. I just smiled. The day Bai Qing came back, I knew that my marriage with Fu Xi had come to an end. Fu Xi couldn't accept leaving the dying Bai Qing to operate on me, and I didn't want to hand my life over to such a person. The door of the operating room slid open silently, and a slender figure wearing a mask walked in. It was Fu Xi's colleague Luan. The two figures crossed. Fu Xi said that Li Yan's operation troubled you. If I didn't go now, I might regret it for the rest of my life. Listening to his words, my tears flowed silently. It was so embarrassing. Li Yan was just abandoned again. Why did he cry? A shadow suddenly fell in front of my eyes, and a cold scalpel was pressed against my skin. Dr. Su, who was always cold and taciturn, said lightly, "Why are you crying? I'm here, you won't die." The operation lasted for 2 hours. It was already evening when I came out, and it was raining heavily outside the window. Luan stayed by my side all the time and didn't leave until he confirmed that my condition was stable. When Fu Xi called me, the anesthesia had just worn off and I was sweating in pain. When I picked up the phone, a lively and cute girl came over and said, "I'm sorry if my sister-in-law doesn't know how his brother passed it. I just had an ordinary scratch." As a result, Fu Xi came over without knowing the severity of the injury. I had already scolded him. Then I heard his coquettish voice from the other end of the phone. "You are already in your 30s, but you are still so impulsive. I thought you were in love with me." 24. "There is a cup of milk tea left. You take it to your sister-in-law to apologize." There was a sigh from the other side. It seemed that the father and son took away the mobile phone. "A cup of milk tea is left. You bring it to your sister-in-law to make amends." And there is a sigh from the opposite side of the room. And it seems that the father and son have drawn away the cell phone. "I have said so many times that if you don't want the wound to fester, just stay here. He just had an operation and couldn't drink milk tea. He bought it for you." The other end was peaceful. Only Fu Xi's brother was very aggrieved. "I just said that you had a car accident," and he hung up the phone anxiously. "What does it have to do with me? Don't take me with you too." I suddenly felt sick with the pain of the wound, and my chest was painful. I asked Fu Xi to help me get painkillers, but I swallowed them back instantly. I hung up the phone without saying a word. The nurse pushed the door in, handed me a pill, and said with a smile, "Yes, this is the painkiller prescribed by Dr. Su for you. Take it and go to bed early." Because I still had to go to work, I was discharged from the hospital after only 3 days. When I walked out of the hospital gate, Fu Xi's car was parked outside, and I subconsciously opened the door of the co-pilot. A faint exclamation came, and I saw that Bai Qing retracted her body from the main driver's seat. Her messy collar, coupled with a slightly provocative look, made me stunned. "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." He looked like he was about to cry. Fu Xi took off the hair entangled in the watch, and scolded in coldness, saying, "Nonsense, don't let your sister-in-law misunderstand." After that, Fu Xi explained to me that when he was picking up something, his hair was entangled in my watch. I know Fu Xi didn't lie to me. He has always been open and above board. Before getting married, Fu Xi clearly told me that I had a relationship, but after getting married, I will remain loyal to you. But sometimes this boundary will become blurred and become a hotbed for ambiguity, such as now. I suppressed the bitterness in my heart. "Fu Xi, let's talk. I don't want anyone else to be present." Maybe my emotions made Bai Qing feel uneasy. She bit her lip. "Fu Xi, I'd better take a taxi back. My sister-in-law seems angry." Fu Xi was calm and steady. "Your own legs can walk." Bai Qing's face was pale, and he forced a smile. I tried, but he didn't get up immediately. Instead, he sat there and waited. Even Fu Xi looked at me. His eyes were calm and deep, no different from usual. But I knew inexplicably that Fu Xi wanted me to say something, preferably more knowledgeable, but I didn't want to suffer such grievances. I gave way to the door and told Bai Qing to get off the car. There were plenty of taxis at the intersection. Bai Qing froze and left with red eyes. I sat in her seat, and the atmosphere in the car was a little suffocating. After a while, Fu Xi spoke gently, saying that there was no need to vent my anger on him because I left. You know, the emergency department called and I was just having a normal consultation. If it were anyone else, I would have left. I don't have the energy to care about what he was thinking at that moment. I just felt very tired. Fu Xi, let's get a divorce. Fu Xi slammed on the brakes, and the things in the car fell to the ground. He frowned slightly. Li Yan, why are you doing this? It's because of Bai Qing. I endured the dull pain from the knife and said, yes, it's because of Bai Qing. At this moment, a sudden cry of pain came from outside the window, accompanied by the honking of the car horn. Bai Qing fell down in the most conspicuous place at the intersection. From here it was clear at a glance. I looked at the crowd surging outside the car window and smiled sarcastically. Your Bai Qing fell down, why don't you go and see? Fu Xi was sweating coldly and started the car again. You are going to divorce me, how can I care about an outsider? On the way home the atmosphere dropped to freezing point. When we got home, Tuanzi came over to us and meowed at us. This is the cat Fu Xi gave me when I got married. When we sleep, Tuanzi likes to sleep between him and me. Fu Xi stared at Tuanzi but wanted to bend down and pick him up. His tone was helpless. Tuanzi's mother and father had a quarrel. Can you ask Mom to forgive Dad? Tuanzi understood human nature. He meowed and looked at me. This was the way my father coaxed me every time we had a quarrel. He knew that I would feel soft-hearted when I saw Tuanzi, but this time I pursed my lips and didn't say anything. My father lowered his head and said, I'll let Luan open the door for you. Did you take the painkillers on time? You asked him to prescribe them. Fu Xi raised his eyebrows slightly. Otherwise, you thought I didn't want you anymore. Fu Xi came over to kiss me. His slender hands held my cheeks, and his slightly cool fingertips brought numbness. Li Yan was not so confused as to ruin our marriage. When I was distracted, I heard her gentle whisper in my ear. Be good, can we not get a divorce? It's not good at all. If Bai Qing had come back 3 years ago, I wouldn't care. After all, Fu Xi and I met on a blind date. We are from a family of scholars and are a good match for the medical family, but we have little feelings for each other. I am a teacher at a university, and Fu Xi is busy with work. In the first year of our marriage, we went on only a few dates. I don't remember when I fell in love with Fu Xi. Maybe it was love that grew over time, or maybe it was because I was in a car accident and was madly abused by the perpetrator. He came to me in the rain on a rainy night. He was a respectable medical professor. He fought with the perpetrator for me. He had a wound on his face. He wiped my tears with a helpless and doting tone. He said, why are you crying? You can always rely on me. However, this man who could be relied on appeared in Bai Qing's circle of friends on the third day after I was discharged from the hospital. I had just finished class that day. Standing in the office to get water, opened the circle of friends. Bai Qing's dynamic appeared in front of me without warning. She changed a new bandage on her knee, and wrote that the price of losing me halfway was that the great professor came to change the bandage in person. After a while, she deleted the circle of friends and reposted that I was scolded. And next time I will stand here and wait for you to come back obediently, accompanied by a cute selfie, pure and gentle, with slightly swollen corners of her lips, like a kitten that was coaxed after being wronged. In the corner of the photo was Fu Xi's watch. My hand trembled slightly when I put down the cup until my colleague next to me shouted. I came back to my senses from the indescribable nausea. I recognized the table in the corner of the photo. It was Fu Xi's parents' home. He brought Bai Qing home. My parents always said that I had a strong sense of revenge. When I was bitten by a dog when I was a child, I would bite the dog back. Things have come to this point. There is no reason for me to endure it. I decisively gave Bai Qing a thumbs up and commented below that the watch is good. Then I turned my phone to silent mode. After teaching the students, it was almost noon. I turned on my phone and found that Fu Xi had called me 7 or 8 times, Bai Qing called me 3 times, and the circle of friends had been deleted. Fu Xi, the phone call came in again with a helpless tone, asking why Li Yan didn't answer the phone. Today is Monday and I have to teach my students. He choked, then remembered that I never answer the phone during class. In the few seconds of silence, I thought he was considering how to explain to me, but speaking first would make it seem more obvious. I just waited quietly, and soon Bai Qing's crying voice came in. I'm sorry, sister-in-law, I haven't seen my uncle and aunt for a long time. I came to see them today and they were there too, so they changed the medicine for me. Don't think I was arguing with him. I laughed. Which eye of yours saw me arguing with him? I felt guilty. You haven't done anything shameful to get into this situation, have you? Li Yan. Fu Xi reminded me lightly, my parents are around, please be careful. Bai Qing just sent a message to her friends to express her gratitude. He did nothing wrong. There is no reason for him to endure your questioning. Maybe I was silent for too long. Fu Xi was a little upset. When will you get off work? I will pick you up to eat dumplings. Mom made them herself. My chest felt stuffy. I took a deep breath, smiled and said, Fu Xi, that family has him but not me. I was responded by along. Silence. I didn't know that Bai Qing turned on the speakerphone. My voice echoed in the living room. The whole family heard it. Fu Zi's patience was gone. He said coldly, "Okay, it's up to you," and hung up the phone first. This should be the first Cold War between Fu Zi and I in the 3 years since we got married. It was neither too early nor too late. When Bai Qing's play Reunion with Lovers was released, the teachers in the office praised the play. I heard that it was about the story of reuniting with the ex. It was very touching. Many people got back together with their ex after watching it. I blocked out all the gossip and went to Fu Zi's hospital on Lewin Street with a banner. Fu Zi was not there. Why don't you give it to him in person some other day? He brought Shallow. He was wearing a blue mask, his skin was cold and white, his hands were in the pockets of his white coat. He was as cool as ever. I smiled and said it was for you. Thank you for the surgery last time. Lewin looked at me with his light eyes, didn't say much, and hung the banner on the wall. I asked him again, Sue, the doctor came to you to remove the stitches, right? Your Fu Ci came to me when he was not free. Fu Ci definitely didn't have time. During the Cold War, he moved back to Pei's house. The time of seeing patients increased from twice a week to 4 times a week. But he never contacted me, probably wanting me to take the initiative to show my goodwill and go to the hospital to find him. But I didn't go, but chose to look for him when he was not around. Lewin took over my follow-up visits. Half a month later, Fu Ci couldn't stand it anymore and called me. Why do you always look for Lewin for follow-up visits? Monday to Thursday is my consultation time, but you choose to look for him on the weekend. I smiled and asked him, what's wrong with you today? Why are you so angry? I have to teach students from Monday to Thursday, so I don't have time. Fu Ci's voice was cold. Lian, do you know what you are doing? Some people are like this. When they become distracted in a relationship, they become paranoid and think that their partner will be the same as them. I kindly discussed with him, why don't you adjust your consultation time to the weekend? Fu Ci was silent. Bai Qing's drama performance was scheduled for the weekend. He was reluctant. I hung up the phone, looked up and met Lewin's peaceful and cold eyes, slightly startled. What's wrong? Lewin lowered his eyes. His slender fingers gently stroked my medical records. Lian, you prescribed sleeping pills 3 times this week. I can't give you any more. It's okay. You can still fall asleep when you are drunk. Thank you for these days. Lewin stared at my forced smiling face and suddenly asked if we wanted to drink together in the evening. What? He took off his rubber gloves and got up to have a dinner party at the department. Fu Ci should go too. So that's how it is. As a family member of a doctor, it's normal for me to appear at their dinner party, so I agreed and went there happily. Coincidentally, Fu Ci was there in the past, but he didn't come tonight. Seeing that I had missed the party, his colleagues all looked at me with sympathy and took good care of me during the meal. I don't know if it was intentional or not. The wine that Luoan put next to me was mellow and not spicy. Soon I felt a little dizzy. When it was almost over, the work group of this group of colleagues suddenly rang, and Luoan's mobile phone was on and placed next to me, so I looked at it. I received a message, which showed a scene of Fu Ci standing in the kitchen cooking with his back to the camera. The photo was withdrawn within less than 30 seconds of being sent out. Fu Ci apologized in the group and said that my wife was just joking. Suddenly, the eyes of the whole table were focused on me. There was a dead silence. I knew that Fu Ci had gone astray. It was like a train suspended in the air, enjoying the excitement without falling into the abyss. He was just at his parents' house, cooking a meal for Bai Qing who came to visit. I couldn't question him, otherwise it would be unreasonable. In fact, I should have expected it, didn't I? I have learned to be calm. I could not accept such a thing and I didn't feel heartbroken. After the dinner, everyone decided to let Lewin take me home. Before getting in the car, several female colleagues of Fu Ci came to comfort me and told me not to think too much and to have a good rest first. I drank a lot of wine and numbly thanked everyone, then fell asleep on the chair. Lewin drove very steadily, so that the car stopped downstairs. He called me and I came out of my dream. I don't know when the phone slid to Luan's side. I subconsciously went to cut my hair and it hooked on Lewin's watch. Things were so similar that I laughed and cried. No, sorry. Lewin took off his watch and immediately distanced himself from me so that I could take off my hair myself. Before I could thank him, the car door was suddenly opened from the outside, and cold wind poured in. Fu Hong stood in front of the door, his voice carrying the calmness before the storm. Lian, you'd better explain to me clearly, what are you doing? This should be the first time Fu Hong lost control in front of me. His voice could hardly suppress the anger. He tightly grasped my wrist and dragged me out of Luoan's car. I was mostly sober and looked at him calmly. Let me go, I didn't do anything, I saw it all. Professor Pei, who was calm and composed, showed a hint of anger on his face for the first time. I suddenly remembered the day I was discharged from the hospital, an almost identical scene, and a sneer appeared on the corner of my lips. I just got my hair hooked on his watch. Don't get me wrong, Fu Ci, I probably also thought of that day, and an angry expression solidified on his face. Fu Ci's subconscious reaction still disgusted me, because I knew that if he was really innocent after I said this, he would definitely argue with me, saying that he and Bai Qing were innocent and it was me who was making trouble for no reason. But Fu Xi didn't. He was confused and panicked, and let go of me for a long time without saying a word. So at the moment when Bai Qing came to him, he really thought about having a long-awaited grand party with her. When we met again, I also thought about abandoning my responsibilities as a husband. I pressed Bai Qing on the seat and kissed him hard. It was my appearance that brought back his conscience as a husband. I turned around calmly and thanked Luan Fu Xi, and I still have something to say. Be careful on the way back. Luan nodded and left. It was terribly quiet all around. I ignored Fu Xi and turned to walk towards the corridor. Lian, let's talk. Fu Xi wanted to pull me, but I suddenly turned around and slapped him hard. The crisp sound of the slap echoed in the corridor. The grievance and anger that had been suppressed for a long time burst out in an instant. I remembered his back when he left the operating table, and the fear and helplessness of being abandoned by her husband. I was trembling with anger and said coldly, Fu Xi, don't fucking touch me, I think you're dirty. I don't know what Fu Xi explained to his family, but Fu Xi took the initiative to end the Cold War, moved back, bought a lot of toys for Tuanzi and held him every day. Tuanzi swayed in front of me and repeated the same old trick. Chow chow, can you hug Tuanzi? I took Tuanzi and rubbed him twice nonchalantly. Just when he thought I forgave him, the doorbell rang, and my parents appeared at the door. Lian heard that you two were going on a business trip and said, well, Tuanzi, you should take him home and raise him first. We don't know when you will be back. My parents noticed that the atmosphere between us was not right, so they silently picked up Tuanzi and left. When they closed the door, I saw the pale faces of the father and son, and threw the toy he had just handed to me lightly at their feet. Think about the divorce, Tuanzi and I, and leave the rest to the lawyer. Until this moment, Fu Xi realized that I was serious. His gentle attitude disappeared, and he stiffly uttered 4 words. I disagree. Lian, Bai Qing and I are innocent. If you don't like him, I can cut off contact with him. As long as you want you to be happy, I will go along with you. Why am I the one who is making trouble for no reason? I pulled out a chair and sat down. My tone was very light. Who cares who you like? I want a divorce. Can't it be that I've had enough of you? The words after Fu Xi were blocked in his throat. He asked me if it was because of Luan. I drank a sip of water. Fu Xi, don't make trouble for no reason. Luan and I are innocent. If you don't like him, I can cut off contact with him. As long as you are happy and divorce me, I will agree with you. In less than a minute, what he said was returned to him. It was the first time that I saw the crazy expressions on the faces of father and son, but I was no longer interested in arguing with him. You and Bai Qing are like me and Luan, clear and above board. Wait until you have thought it through before we talk. This ironic sentence completely brought our relationship to the freezing point. Fu Xi did not agree to divorce and we were in a stalemate. However, soon he tasted the taste of shooting himself in the foot. When I brought fruit to Luan, when I spoke for Luan in front of him, or maybe because of the wound, he gave me Luan sent a WeChat message, and Fu Xi's emotions that had been suppressed for a long time finally exploded. He threw the chopsticks in front of me. Lian, what do you want me to do? I have stopped contacting Bai Qing. How long are you going to make trouble? On the phone he threw over, there were long paragraphs of pleading words from Bai Qing to him. Please pay attention to me. Are you taking revenge on me by breaking up with you? I was wrong, okay? Let's be friends in the future. I will be a good person and never disturb your life again. I also put my own phone on the table. Bai Qing has bad intentions towards you. Isn't it right for you to ignore her? Why should I abandon my attending doctor just because you rejected him? The chat history between Luan and I couldn't be more normal. I'll have a follow-up visit on Saturday. Does the wound still hurt? If it's better, then get ready to remove the stitches. Fu Xi couldn't find any fault with it, but as a surgeon, his biggest problem was that his wife asked someone else to remove the stitches. I knew what Fu Xi wanted to say, so I took the lead to stop him. You didn't operate on me, so don't worry about the follow-up treatment. I like to be faithful to one person. Fu Xi sat in the living room and didn't speak for a long time. I don't know if he made me angry. After dinner, my lower abdomen became unbearable. Without hesitation, I picked up my coat and planned to go to the hospital. Xi looked up at me, saw my pale face and asked what was wrong. I avoided his touch and opened the taxi app. Fu Xi saw that my destination was the hospital, so he grabbed his clothes and said, if you can't get a taxi at night, don't be stubborn, I'll drive you. He was telling the truth. Just as he finished speaking, his cell phone rang, and Bai Qing's name popped up on the screen. Perhaps it was out of the instinct to survive. I snatched it and hung up Bai Qing's phone. Call Fu Xi, I'm not feeling well, take me to the hospital. Bai Qing called again, and I picked up the phone instantly. If you call me again, I'll tear you apart with my own hands. After saying that, I threw the phone hard against the wall, and the screen broke into pieces. I didn't know what happened to me, and my forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. Fu Xi no longer hesitated and helped me walk out. Before entering the door, he bent down to pick up the broken phone. At that moment, the screen lit up. Bai Qing sent a text message to Archer. If this is your I chose, would it be better if I disappeared from this world? The father and son's faces suddenly changed. He forgot what he was going to do, dialed the phone, put on his clothes and rushed out, forgetting to close the door. The huge noise turned on the lights in the corridor. The neighbor opened the door and looked at me curiously. I couldn't hold on any longer and knelt on the ground. Please take me to the hospital. I didn't know I was pregnant and I was about to miscarry. When Luan came, he just heard the doctor say whether to keep the child or not. If I don't deal with it now, it will be difficult to keep it. On the way here, I had a hunch and made a decision not to Luan. I didn't want to. I stopped at the door. The nurse from their department came in, a warm-hearted elder sister. She thought I had quarreled with the father and son. He advised me to calm down while grabbing my cell phone to call the father and son, saying that the matter of the child should be carefully considered. Where is the father's kindness, and he doesn't care about his wife like this. In the minds of their older generation, the child is a joint decision made by the couple. I suddenly felt very tired. At this moment, I didn't have the strength to stop it. The moment the phone was connected, Bai Qing's voice came out first, slightly hoarse. Li Yan made you proud for so many days. I'm really sorry. Fu Xi is in my bed now. Did you make him angry? He was really enthusiastic to me just now. The female colleague's face changed. She hung up quickly, and waited until she recovered to call again and then turned off the phone. I was already familiar with the sympathetic eyes of others and smiled calmly. I'm sorry he cheated on you. Excuse me, but it's okay this way. After all, the hospital is a gossip center. Professor Pei, who is always bright and clear, has a scandal in public. His bad days are not far away. The abortion operation only took a short time. I leaned on the corridor of the hospital. Luan was negotiating with the doctor about relevant precautions. Then he sat down beside me and handed me a cup of hot water. I felt the warmth from my palm. Thank you, Dr. Su. I used you in some things. I'm sorry if it caused you trouble. Luan looked out the window at the night. There was nothing to be sorry about. Li Yan, I'm not a young man in his early 20s who knows nothing. What? Seeing me staring at him intently, Luan stood up and said lightly, It's nothing. Well, Sister Wang will come over later and take you to the lounge for accompanying the driver. Fu Xi didn't know about my pregnancy until the next day. When he hurried to the hospital, I had just come out of the lounge. Li Yan and his son spoke in an anxious tone. They rushed over and carefully held my face with relief in their eyes. We have a child, but he shouldn't know. She still smelled of Bai Qing's perfume. I frowned. Where did you hear the news? Sister Wang told me. Sister Wang was the enthusiastic elder sister who called him last night. Fu Xi was obedient, but he probably couldn't change his habit of listening halfway. I don't know when Bai Qing appeared behind Fu Xi. With a sweet smile filled with hidden jealousy and provocation. Sister-in-law heard that you were pregnant. Fu Xi called me last night. Magnet came to me. He was really confused. He must have thought he was playing dumb in public. He must have felt great. But he didn't know that his remarks last night spread throughout the hospital overnight. At this time, several people behind him suddenly realized, took out their mobile phones and pointed at him, and nodded to confirm that he was the shameless mistress on the phone. The atmosphere at the scene was a little weird. Bai Qing was stunned for a moment, but didn't think much about it. I suddenly found it ridiculous. Fu Xi frowned. Li Yan, what are you laughing at? Didn't anyone tell you that I aborted the child? The father and son froze in expression. What do you mean? Seeing me showing a sarcastic smile, the father and son froze in expression and scolded Li Yan coldly. What qualifications do you have to make decisions on your own? I am your husband. The scene suddenly fell into a weird silence. Jing. I couldn't suppress the sarcasm in my words. Do you still remember that you are my husband? What were you doing when I called you last night? Fu Xi's eyes sank. You called him, Bai Qing answered. He said you were in bed and very passionate about him. He asked me not to disturb you. There was a burst of boos at the scene. This mistress is so rampant that she dared to come to the hospital and cover herself in front of the owner. Fu Xi froze all over. His hands trembled as he looked at Bai Qing with horror. Is that what he said? Bai Qing's face was pale. Only at this moment did he realize that the people around him looked at him in the wrong way. He didn't know what was wrong. He just shook his head in panic. He was talking nonsense. I don't have a che, I don't have my calm finishing blow. Not only did I hear what he said. Your colleagues have heard it. Your mistress is so arrogant. How can you let me keep your child? Bai Qing collapsed and cried bitterly. She fled in panic amid the pointing and accusations of the crowd. Fu Xi seemed to be in a trance and stood there for a long time without reacting. The local news spread quickly on the internet. That afternoon, gossip spread from the medical circle to the drama circle. There were all kinds of ugly words in the group. It was really glorious for Bai Qing to be a mistress. Why didn't this monster start a live broadcast to say that when he was acting in a drama, he told everyone that he didn't add WeChat? How noble it was. But he turned out to be a stinky fly. The next day when I went to the hospital to get medicine, I ran into Bai Qing with red eyes. Bai Qing stopped me and begged me to forgive him. Lian, there is no need to make such a fuss, right? As long as you help me clarify, I will leave. What is Fu Xi clarifying? Just pretend that I never said that, okay? He cried and burst into tears. I can't be without a job. I grabbed his hair and said calmly, Bai Qing, I said I would tear you apart, right? I dragged him to Fu Xi's office. I'll give you a chance. The evidence is in my hands. You lose your job or Fu Xi loses his job. You can discuss it yourself, but I suggest you sacrifice yourself. First, you love him so much, and second, if Fu Xi loses his job, will you support your good brother? On this day, through a door, I heard Fu Xi's almost uncontrolled roar. My heart was as calm as water. Bai Qing seemed to be crying. Ache, I am too possessive. I just hate that woman. I just don't want him to monopolize you. It's obvious that we are a match made in heaven. Why is that enough? Fu Xi said coldly. You're just a mistress. Bai Qing shouted in disbelief. Fu Xi, that's not what you said. You obviously love me. Why shouldn't I love my wife and love you instead? Am I crazy? Listening to Fu Xi's almost sarcastic words, Bai Qing collapsed. Then you divorce us and we will live in another place. I can be your wife. Forget it. Fu Xi's tone was distant. You destroyed everything for me. I can't support you like this. You see, when his interests were not affected, first love was the white moonlight and the cinnabar mole. But once he was lost, all first loves, white moonlights and cinnabar moles became dog shit. In fact, I was just joking. I didn't want to let go of either of them. After Bai Qing left, I walked in and threw the divorce agreement in Fu Xi's face. I didn't want to move and I didn't want to see you, so don't go back to that house. Don't argue with me. I don't want to make it too ugly. Fu Xi sat with a pale face and said nothing. When I got home, all of Fu Xi's things were thrown out, except for a few boxes of underwear for the father and son. I sent them to Bai Qing and sent him a special message saying, I'll give them all to you. They'll be enough for a month's enthusiasm. Go ahead. Since Bai Qing had acted in a drama, he was quite popular. His identity had long been exposed by enthusiastic netizens. There was a lot of discussion online. It turned out that his reunion was to destroy other people's families and be a mistress. I really want to listen to the audio of him provoking the original wife. Let me show you the way. Xiaoyu loves life. Sick version. The blogger fell ill and went to the hospital. The background sound happened to record the mistress's phone call. I didn't expect that someone actually recorded it, and the audio was modified by someone. He was so enthusiastic towards me. It was all over the place for a while. Bai Qing became completely famous. Several times, people ran into Bai Qing during street interviews. He fled in panic in other people's cameras, looking extremely embarrassed. Many people gathered below the drama troupe, asking if this Sister Qing was still working. She was a morally corrupt person. Could she have not been fired yet? A few days later, the drama troupe issued a statement that Bai Qing had been fired. Since then, I have never seen Bai Qing blink again. Autumn has begun. Fu Xi's matter has caused a big uproar on the internet. Medical, but you accidentally dropped me into the water. The adverb smiled. Yes, I blamed myself all day in the hot pot restaurant. You were drunk, came over to kiss me and said you didn't blame me. That was the first time my heart was moved for you. I didn't say anything, patted Tuanzi's butt, and watched him jump on the sofa. Fu Xi asked again, do you remember the night you had a car accident? Remember you were injured for me? I cried. The later Christmas, remember the dumplings you sent me on New Year's Eve when I worked overtime? Remember the sunrise on the snowy night in Nantang? The sunset by the Songming Lake? Remember Fu Xi? He stopped talking, and after a long time his voice was low and hoarse. Lian, we have so many memories that we can't finish talking about them in this lifetime. Yes, we can't finish talking about them in this lifetime, I laughed. But the moment you slept with Bai Qing, all the memories had nothing to do with you. It was you who betrayed everything, and it was you who should suffer. I heard Fu Xi's breathing overflowing with pain. Fu Xi, I will not erase the past that belongs to us, because I was happy, but that's all. I can talk to you about the past. Not because I am reluctant, but because I have let it go. No one can control it. English. One person must accompany another person for a lifetime. I will not look back, nor will I forgive. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Fu Xi, I asked in a hoarse voice. There is no chance, right? Touching Tuanzi's ear. Please send the divorce agreement to me as soon as possible, so that we can part ways in peace. After signing the divorce agreement, he and Lian entered a cool-off period for divorce. When they got married, he felt that the 2 months were like years. A wedding that was born out of a blind date always has so many details to worry about. He was irritable and just hoped that it would be over soon. However, today, 3 years later, Fu Xi felt that time had passed so quickly. The marriage that he had resisted in every possible way was coming to an end at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the last 2 months, Lian did not forgive him. The wife who was soft-hearted and gentle in his memory was so decisive when she left. Fu Xi often felt that the month he wandered was like a dream. His first love in his youth had become unrecognizable after many years. But it was not only Bai Qing who had changed beyond recognition. He was wearing thicker clothes than others, and seemed to be more afraid of the cold. The father and son thought of their unborn child, and they felt indescribably uncomfortable. Li Yan walked up to Fu Xi with a scarf around his neck, and his tone was quite kind. There was a little traffic jam on the road. Fu Xi raised his eyes and looked in the direction he came from, empty. His hanging heart seemed to be a little settled, but more bitter. I'm in a hurry, let's make a quick decision. Li Yan took the lead and walked towards the Civil Affairs Bureau. For a moment, the father and son suddenly wanted to grab Li Yan, hold him in his arms, and say that he would be there later. Regretful, he wanted to say that Bai Qing was just an obsession in his youth. The person he loved was Li Yan, but this thought only lasted for a moment, and then disappeared without a trace. Li Yan said that divorce by agreement would not work, and he would not show mercy. His parents were old and he was unemployed in middle age. He faced the dilemma of going far away to find a job. Once he got a job, the chance of returning home was slim. His parents lost face for this, and they had been sick for many days and had not recovered. He did not want to lose even the last bit of dignity. Not many people were getting divorced today, and the window was like pressing the accelerator key, and the procedures were completed in the blink of an eye. It was over. When he got the divorce certificate, Fu Xi felt that the certificate was as heavy as 1,000 pounds, which made him breathless. Li Yan stood in front of him. The warm autumn sun passed through the eaves, drawing a clear line between morning and evening between him and her. Fu Xi stood in the shadow and asked Li Yan, "What are your plans for the future?" Li Yan said coldly that he had no plans, and would work and live normally. Looking at Li Yan's hair messed up by the wind, he subconsciously raised his hand to brush it. Li Yan didn't know who had received the message. He turned his head to look at the street corner. His hair and hands were like, "We missed each other so much." A black car stopped at the intersection. Li Yan left in a hurry and didn't even have time to turn around and say goodbye to him. Fu Xi stared at the hands in the driver's seat for a long time. His mind was in a mess, but he didn't dare to go forward. He was afraid that he would see that the person in the driver's seat was Luan, or another man, so he could only stare at the hands without blinking. The autumn wind blew and tears blurred his eyes. The day Bai Qing came back, I knew that my marriage with Fu Xi had come to an end. Zheng Fu Xi couldn't see clearly that Fu Xi had left. Hometown, 3 years have passed since he left. On New Year's Eve, he sat in the cold duty room. The biting cold wind outside the window could not break the excitement of the fireworks and the joy of reunion. He could not go back again this year. His parents were very dissatisfied with him. His relatives and friends around him hardly contacted him because of that incident. It seemed that the father and son were really alone. Therefore, the dumplings that Li Yan sent in the heavy snow on New Year's Eve that year became an unattainable dream for the rest of his life. Just after midnight, New Year's blessing text messages came one after another. A message popped up. "Do you know, did Li Yan get married?" Fu Xi stared at the message for a long time. He was silent for a while, but still couldn't muster up the courage to ask who the groom was. Instead, he opened the dialogue box with Li Yan. The last record was 3 years ago, when Li Yan asked him to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to handle the divorce. After hesitating for a long time, he typed out the 4 words "Happy Wedding." The sound of firecrackers made his heart ache. He took a deep breath and pressed the send button. A red exclamation mark popped up, and the sound of firecrackers just stopped. The world was silent, just as his heart withered into desolation. The end.